Hey everyone, and welcome to 52, the podcast where we provide tips for success in dating and relationships. Today's episode is a good one. A listener wants to know, is it a red flag if a 29-year-old has never been in a relationship? Sounds kind of suspicious, right? But don't jump to conclusions just yet. I'm talking to Rodney Rabani today, a marriage and family therapist, and he's about to drop some serious insights on why this might not be what you think. Trust me, you'll want to hear this one. And the episode starts now.
Got ghosted again? Or did you just ghost someone? Well, no judgments here, but whether you're single or not, we're all aware that dating has become unnecessarily complicated and even weird. But does it really have to be? Let's change it up. On that note, welcome back to 52. I'm Kelly, a tech attorney here in New York.
And I'm Rodney Rabani, a marriage and family therapist in Los Angeles, as well as a dating coach and relationship coach.
And today, we're going to tackle a question submitted by one of our listeners who's single. And in answering the question, we're going to provide some tips to help you successfully date and even meet your special someone. And who better to help us out than Rodney, who's helped countless singles find love and navigate the ups and downs of the dating scene. For our listeners that are single, grab your coffee or your tea and get ready to learn how to date with intention. And for our listeners that are in a relationship, we hope that this helps you to further appreciate your special someone and maintain your relationship. So let's get started. Rodney, you ready to dive in?
Absolutely, let's do it.
All right, so here's the question we got from a 29-year-old single in New York. He's been focused on his career until now, but he's interested in meeting someone special and possibly starting a relationship. So the thing is, though, is that he's never been in a relationship before because he's been focused on his career. And now he's feeling a little insecure about it because when the topic comes up on dates, girls react negatively to it. And some of them even see it as a red flag. So he wants to know, how can he address the fact that he's never been in a relationship before without feeling embarrassed or defensive?
Well, I think that everyone starts somewhere, right? There's nothing to be embarrassed about or feel shameful about. I get where women are coming from, like if they're feeling a little concerned or red flaggish if he hasn't been in a relationship. But at the same time, like what is he supposed to do? He can't lie. That's not the answer. To be honest, he can't change that. This is the cards that were dealt or the decisions he's made. He's at this point now, and he just has to continue going on dates until there is that one girl that accepts him unconditionally for who he is, the path he's chosen, what he's done. It's like applying for a job, right? If you want this particular job with no experience, are you just going to give up? No, you're going to continue going at it until you get the job because that's going to be your first level experience. That's going to be put on your resume and you move on from there. The first step is hard, but nothing to be shameful about. Just keep moving forward.
Absolutely. I agree with you. And how can he talk about his lack of relationship experience in a way that shows a girl that it's not a red flag?
He just has to be very honest. I've been working and focusing on my career and never prioritize dating. Just be honest. There's no other way to put it. You don't want to be ingenuine or lie.
You're 100% right. What do you think are some of the misconceptions people might have about someone who's never been in a relationship before? Sometimes people judge them for it, like, oh, what's wrong with them? Is there a reason they were never in a relationship?
Common misconceptions are that there's something wrong with the person, and that's not true. A lot of cases, people just haven't met the right person, or they've prioritized other things in their life, or they weren't ready to be vulnerable or intimate with someone. And that's something we've talked about in other episodes of our podcast, where there's a huge fear of intimacy. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's something that you want to process at some point, and some people get to it later.
All right. For someone who hasn't had relationship experience, is it necessary for them to mention their lack of relationship experience right away, or can they wait until they feel a deeper connection with someone?
Mhm. I don't think there's any reason to share it unless it comes up in conversation. Um, Definitely, it's not something that needs to be shared on the first date unless it really does come up somehow. The answer would be don't lie, but you don't. It's not something that needs to be rushed to said either.
When he does bring it up, how can he build the confidence to talk about it without feeling self-conscious?
I don't think it's about building the confidence. It's about killing off that critical voice that it's bad or wrong. It's not that he needs more confidence. He needs to stop being so hard on himself.
And especially in this case, because he's so focused on his career, I feel like that's something to be proud of. That
Mhm.
when he's going after something, he really puts his all into it.
Agree.
So I think he should feel pretty confident. But it was very interesting. We asked our listeners in a poll on social media what they thought, what our listeners thought when it
Well,
came to this situation, whether or not they thought it would be a red flag.
mhm,
And we found in the results that 18% found it to be a red flag, that he had no relationship experience.
mhm,
Then 46% of our listeners thought it was not a red flag, regardless of the reason. So whether he was focused on his career or not, they didn't think it was a red flag,
mhm.
which was great. That's a majority. And then 36% thought it was not a red flag only because of the reason that he was focused on his career. So suppose it wasn't about his career. Suppose that he never had a relationship because he was, I mean, to put it frankly, he was an F-boy. He was just having his fun, didn't care for it, didn't want the commitment. Would that change the validity of looking at it like a red flag?
I think so because if the reason is that he or she was an F boy or F girl, might make it a little bit more concerning because we look at F boys and F girls as someone selfish that's really looking out for their own needs and huge avoidant and huge lack of intimacy, and that as a whole is scary, right? But in a lot of ways it could be treated the same as well, because someone who's using work as a reason to not find something serious could also be using that as an excuse,
Right.
consciously or subconsciously, as an excuse of the same things as an F boy. Uh, Fear of intimacy, selfish, whatever it is. So I don't know. I think it's really case by case, and it really depends on the person more than the excuse they're using.
That makes sense. So it's really important for him to show his ability to be emotionally available then.
Yeah.
So got it. So what are some of, yeah. So what are some of the ways he can demonstrate emotional readiness and maturity to a potential person, even if he's new to the dating world?
Honesty, transparency, realness, being genuine, being vulnerable. If I was this guy, I would say, look, I don't know what happened. I guess maybe I just wasn't ready. Maybe I was using work as a crutch. I don't know what it was, but I'm at a point where I'm really ready to do this, and I can understand why it could be concerning for someone on the other end, but there's nothing more that I want. Like just being very raw, transparent, real, and honest would help.
And to wrap it up, what advice do you have for him to increase his chances of finding someone special who appreciates where he's coming from, since he's new to the relationship area, that he's been focused on his career, but will also be patient moving forward with him since he doesn't have the experience?
Everything we talked about here today, being honest, real, transparent, just like any other person who wants to have a serious relationship, it's a numbers game. Just going out on as many real, effective dates as possible until one girl is unconditionally okay with him and what he has.
Right. Thank you, Rodney. All right. Wow, what a great convo, Rodney. I'm sure our listeners learned a lot. So a huge thank you to you for sharing your expertise and helping us break down this listener's question, dating dilemma. You know, you've given us so many valuable tips to navigate the modern dating world with confidence and intention. And Rodney, before we wrap up, Where can our listeners find more of your work and connect with you? I'm sure they'll want to follow you for more, relationship and dating advice.
So I have a Instagram page that I often post on about tips and questions and information when it comes to dating and relationships. It's just my name, Rodney Rabani. And I also have a Facebook page. It's called Question of the Day. We post questions about all sorts of topics.
Awesome. Definitely check that out, everyone. And to our listeners, if you have your own dating questions or topics you'd like to discuss and for us to cover in future episodes, click on the link in the captions and submit your question. We love hearing from you.
Take
Bye,
care.
Rodney. As always, thanks for tuning into 52. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends, because we all know love is better when it's shared. Until next time, stay confident, intentional, and authentic. Happy dating! The content in this podcast is for entertainment and is not mental health, medical, or personal relationship counseling. It is not a substitute for professional expertise and judgment from a licensed healthcare or mental health professional. You should seek the advice of a qualified professional when seeking mental health or medical advice to obtain a diagnosis or any treatment regarding your mental health or well-being. The content in this podcast may not be applicable to you and your specific situation. Topics discussed in this podcast may include information that may be considered sensitive or emotionally charged to some people, and therefore listener discretion is advised. References to third-party resources are for informational purposes only, and 52 Inc. takes no responsibility for the content of those resources. This podcast is copyrighted 2025 by 52 Inc., all rights reserved.